So given that it's an Ask Me Anything, I can go through the two questions that were presented, but I really want to kind of hear from you guys. Uh, I know Dennis. So other than Dennis, it's Matt, Bonnie, Georgia, and Melanie. If you guys have any questions, please just drop them in the chat. I can talk a little bit to the questions that I got via DM, and we'll kick it off there. And hopefully that will kind of open you guys up, and we can take it from there. Um, so the first question I got was, all of my current clients came through referrals. Beyond referrals, how does one find new clients? What works best? And obviously, this is probably one of the biggest questions I get. Uh, and in a lot of instances, the question is actually being asked too early in the process, because wanting to get a client, so many things happen before then that you should be prepared and ready for, and be kind of putting that best foot forward to get that client. But let's say, for argument's sake, that an executive assistant has done all the things. And what I mean by that is their LinkedIn profile is top shape. They have uh, a real solid understanding of what their business model is, what they're going to charge, what they're really good at, and also what they don't do. And they also are in balance with what um, the personal side of their world and where they want to go career. So if all those boxes are checked, and they are ready to get a client, um, as an independent contractor, as someone who's hanging their own shingle and not going through an agency like ProAssisting, well, then that um, I like to think of it as breaking it into two different conversations. One is a networking conversation, and one is a prospecting conversation. So you need to have the networking conversation first, regardless of where you're coming to have that chat. It usually starts on that networking side. And in that regard, you need to be able to really explain what you do as an executive assistant. And we preach kind of, don't do what I did, which is say, oh, I'm a little bit of everything, or there isn't anything I don't do. You really want to be able to say with confidence and poise, I'm a senior executive assistant. I help my principals as a business partner, a chief of staff, a project manager. I'm their assistant slash scheduler. I'm also their personal assistant. Anything I can do under those five verticals to take things off their plate, uh, I want to do. And as people are joining here, I'm answering a question about how to get clients. So, and, uh, having the prep work done is so important before you get to the ask and look and network for clients. But you got to network. And the other thing I hear about and from EAs all the time is, I don't like putting myself out there. And I don't want to be very vocal on LinkedIn. And you don't have to be vocal on LinkedIn. Um, Really, what you need to do is mine all of your connections. So, how many connections do you have on LinkedIn? How many do you have on Facebook? How many do you have on Instagram? Who's in your phone, your contacts on your phone? And we teach you how to create a spreadsheet with all of those contacts. And we really want to focus first and foremost on people you actually know, people who know, like, and trust you. whether that's Aunt Judy or the chairman of the board of a company that you helped when they came to visit your company one day and you were working for the COO and you helped them out and you spent a day with them and they gave you their business card, even someone like that. And then you take that long list and you reach out from a networking perspective, not from a can you give me a job or do you want to be a client? That's not where you start. You start from the perspective of I'm taking this huge personal step. I'm launching my own business. I am currently in the networking phase to look for the right clients who I can support. I'm a fractional executive assistant. I provide comprehensive support. Do you happen to know anyone who may need support? And the idea around the question, do you happen to know anyone? It's sometimes a side door question because sometimes the person that you're networking with is going to turn around and say, yeah, me, I need that. And in that moment, the conversation changes from a networking conversation to a prospecting conversation. Because then the questions are going to change. How much do you charge? How many hours does that get me? What does a day in the life of you providing support for me look like? And those are the questions that you need to also have answers for and be prepared to answer those questions. So that is kind of at the base level, really leveraging all those connections and always coming at it not from the perspective of I need a job or I need you to be my client or I want you to be my client or do you need support? It's always coming at it from the perspective of this is what I'm doing. I'm taking this huge leap into business ownership because I'm hanging my own shingle. You know that you can trust me and that I provide amazing support. Do you happen to know anyone? Now, the problem, this isn't something that you just do and send out 10 notes. You need to send out a lot. And then you need to follow up. And then you need to follow up again. And then you need to follow up a fourth time. And you need to get over the idea that you're interrupting or you're being a pest. And if you are politely persistent and you give them an out, like, I know this is the third time I'm reaching out to you. If this totally makes no sense and you just don't want to, you just have zero time and you can't connect, let me know and I will stop reaching out. You gotta do it a lot. And there's this story where an entrepreneur, he's named Alex Hormozy, and he talks about, look, he opened gyms, and he's like, I was talking to a mentor of mine, and he said, look, I did, you know, I did flyers. I did flyers to help my business. And Alex was like, great, I'll do flyers. This is great. He went to the copy machine or to the copier and got 300 flyers and went and posted them all over the place. And he was like, got nothing. Got nothing on the flyers. They didn't bring in a single person. He goes back to his mentor and he's like, oh, I did the flyers and they didn't work. He's like, oh, well, what happened? What'd you do? He's like, well, I put up 300 flyers and nobody reached out to me except one guy who called and was angry that I put something on his car under his windshield wiper. And he's like, you did 300? He's like, yeah. He's like, Alex, He's like, when I was testing this, I was doing 3,000 a day for a week for a total of 20,000 flyers. And then when we realized it was working and paying for itself, then we went to 1,000 a day. And I paid people to go out and put those flyers out there. And so Alex was blown away by that, and it's trying to wrap your brain around scale. Now, there's no way I'm telling you to go and do 5,000 or even 300 networking calls, but we call it the first conversations for a reason in our training, is to have those first 100 conversations. Reach out and keep clicking. And if your LinkedIn profile and your experience and how you're having these conversations and meeting these people where they are, not asking for a role. I've had people after 15 conversations say, whoa, I landed my first client. I've had other people say, whoa, after my 78th conversation, I landed a client. And you just don't know. You just have to get up and do it every day and reach out. So that's kind of a high level dig down in terms of what I think of when I think of prospecting and how to find clients. Now, are there other ways? Sure. You can go to your local chamber of commerce and find a way to present to a group of entrepreneurs, or go to a get into a young entrepreneur organization and speak to them, not to join, but you want to find groups of people that would need this kind of support. What you do. When we started ProAssisting in 2018, we hired a company to go out and get us 5 phone calls a month for 3 months. And they charged $2,000 a month. $6,000 we were committing. And they look, we're going to email people over and over and over again, and we're going to use your scripts, and really in depth. Out of those 15 phone calls, we landed 1 client. And that 1 client is still with us. And she's been with us since the end of 2018 and paid us consistently every month since then. So the return on that investment, huge. But would it work moving forward continuously? For us, probably not. So that's how we got our first client, one of our first clients. All right. The next part of her question: when you pitch fractional EA services to someone new, how do you easily explain it in a way that converts? Well, we've been running into this a lot lately. And part of it is because fractional executive assisting gets thrown into being a virtual assistant. And now look, anybody on here who's using the term virtual assistant, I'm not denigrating that. It's just a different flavor of support. And where we think that the world of fractional EA support lies is in between that full-time EA and that virtual assistant, whether onshore or offshore. And the reasoning is, the way that we explain fractional executive assistant support is that it is continuous support Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We also say for ProAssisting, after hours and on weekends in atypical situations, or should you be traveling. But that continuous nature of support throughout the business day is important. It's really important, because a lot of people want to become a virtual assistant so they can have control over their schedule. And that's great. If you need that to work for your life and you can only put focus into support of your clients from 12 to 3 on Monday and 9 to 1 on Tuesday and 12 to 2 on Wednesday, and you have a schedule and the clients agree to it, that's awesome. And do that. If you can get that work and do it, great. And you're charging by the hour, fine. We aren't charging by the hour. We're charging by resources as a fractional executive assistant. And that work for each client is available and open to them 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Solid. Now, when you're actually doing the work and you're working for 3 clients, there can go a day where you only work 3 hours or 45 minutes and you're still working for 3 clients. It's just the way the work falls. You need to be, another way that we've been working on trying to explain this is just in time support. So client A texts you at 9:18 in the morning and, hey, I need to check into flights for Wednesday, which is 2 days from now. And what can you find me? I need, got to be in and out on the same day. We've done this before. Well, you go, you search flights, you put in about 12 minutes, you take some screenshots, you either text or email them over, giving them options to choose. Okay, that took you about, let's say, 12 minutes to find the right flights, to fit the time, to fit the preferences, the price level, all of taking all that into consideration, 12 minutes. And then at the end of that, you jump into client B's work because, oh, they have a presentation coming up tomorrow. I told them I'm getting the draft by 2 p.m. today. I'm going to do 23 minutes of work to brush up everything that was moving, that based on my work from yesterday, and send that off. Okay. Then you get a call from client 3, a random phone call. Pick up the phone. Oh, you need this right away. Okay. Sure. I can jump on that. I'll have it to you you check your watch. I'll have it to you in 20 minutes. Awesome. Great. Boom. You do that work. It doesn't take you 20 minutes. It only takes you 6 minutes. You send that work off to them. And then when you've done that, a reply from your other client about the flights has come in and you're like, oh, I can pick these. So you pick these. Now, that's why we limit our clients to 3, because anything over 3 or 4, I know EAs can handle 4 too, but that context switching is hard. It's hard to stay on top of. But the beautiful thing is that from the assistant side, when we get really efficient with our clients, we kind of are 3 steps ahead. We're kind of, able to be very, very efficient, very quick with their needs. Now, that's one side of it. What they're feeling on their side is, oh, I'm getting full service support. I don't even think of, after a while, the client won't even think that you have other clients. Maybe once in a while, something comes up where you say, oh, I have another client conflict. I can't meet at that time. But they don't care. They're getting a steal. And in terms of high level EA support provided continuously through the business day. So when this EA is asking, how do you pitch fractional EA services to someone? Everyone that you're talking to thinks you're a virtual assistant. That's the term that everybody talks about. And you need to explain that there's a 5-degree difference between what a VA does and what a fractional EA does. And a lot of that from a general perspective, because I know virtual assistants work this way too, but from a general perspective, a lot of it comes down to really being available 9 to 5 and providing that feeling of full service support in your that just in time support that spins up and spins down based on the needs of the client. You're that 5-star hotel concierge in the sky that knows everything about them and can get really efficient and really fast. And all of that is a way to explain it. So that's kind of how, being specific about the question. Now, how do you explain it in a way that easily converts? I would say that it really is the work that happens beforehand. And that is aligning what they are seeing on your LinkedIn profile, the experience you have with your business model. So if you go to a LinkedIn profile, there's no profile picture, there's no background image, there are gaps in the history not explained, there's no notable experience, and you're telling someone, yeah, I'm a high level executive assistant and I'm going to charge $4,000 a month for 1/3 of my resources. At my last role, I was making $120,000 or $180,000 a year. And that's the support I know. But the LinkedIn profile that doesn't align, you're you're not going to get an easy close. The whole goal is to, we call it experience-based positioning. Providing experience-based positioning provides a framing to the prospect to get a sense of what you cost and why you're worth it. And so you need those two things to line up. And then if you just don't trip over your words and you explain yourself properly about how you work as a fractional EA, and that's what they need, they're going to close. So again, it's the alignment and the work that happens before. Getting some, Melanie, thank you so much for putting this in. I'm going to read your first post. I like that you said to specify what you don't do. My last office job was designated IT because there was no IT. I'm happy to support any, but not be that person. Yeah. Well, the EA role is a catch-all, especially in larger or small or medium or even larger organizations. And if you're in the startup space, you may have to assume some of those roles. And I would look at it and as a season. So you go into a startup, you're working with the founder, you're the right hand to him or her, and you need to be the point person for IT. And then you get to 12 employees, and then it's like, okay, we need to get a fractional IT person in here. And so that season of starting it. Now, if he's thinking you're coming in and you're his executive assistant, you're the HR rep, you're the IT person, you're, XY, the operations person of, it's too cold in here, I need to turn the heat up, or where are the snacks for in the kitchen. If you're all of that, you can only sustain that so much when you are in the role. So your second point, Melanie, let me read this here. What I also love about working with multiple clients, and I do market myself as a fractional EA, is the different tools and systems you get to learn. So you get to bring that to new clients. Great point. There's a couple of things that I would comment on here. When you say you get to bring that to new clients, I like to say that's mining your experience. Now, they get to mine, a new client coming to work with you gets to mine your experience on how you've worked in the past with other principals and other organizations. That's extremely valuable. You become an amazing sounding board when you come up with solutions and outside of the box thinking that is spurred on by your previous experience, and that they can leverage. Value right there, not connected to time. It's connected to the time you put into your career, but it's not connected to time in the moment. It's that same thing of, the man owns a house and there's this huge banging that happens on his pipe. And he doesn't know what it is. He is like, I got to call a plumber. He calls a plumber. They're standing there for 20 minutes and finally they hear it. And the plumber goes, oh, walks over, takes out a hammer and goes boom, boom on a pipe and goes, okay, here's $250 bill. Guy's like, whoa, 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 what a second. You went and pounded a thing for 2 seconds. What? It's like, you're not paying me to pound the pipe for 2 seconds. You're paying me for all the experience that it took, my 30 years of experience, to know where to hit and how hard. And that was a 2 time one, not a 5 timer. Or I didn't need to replace that. I just needed to break the stuff up that's in there. And so that's the same thing as an EA. You have all of this experience that your future, current and future clients get to mine. But the other thing you say here, the different tools and systems, I think you're coming at that from exactly the right perspective. In the same breath that I say, look, it's great that they can mine your experience, I'm also going to say that when you start working with someone new, as high level EAs, we can't come in and dictate how the principal wants to communicate with us or how that works. That's not we need to assimilate and be a chameleon to them first. We need to be experts in how they do it before we start offering suggestions or saying that this can be more efficient, or I really want to do it this way. And hopefully through that process, you've built up that trust where they know what you're talking about. And then they sit up and listen. And then if you get them through just one instance where you make life easier for them, more efficient for them by changing a procedure or a process, by using and leveraging your previous knowledge, again, value. That's value not connected to time. Melanie, hey, here's what worked with someone else. How about we try this? Yeah. Yeah, they do. Great clients do love this. I'll talk about great clients for a minute. Well, let me talk about the not so great clients first, and then we can go to the great clients. The not so great clients are the ones I love, the people who say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm I'm not high maintenance. Yeah, no, I'm easy. I'm very easy." Those are the most high maintenance clients you're ever going to work with, hands down. Um, or I love the prospective clients who come and say, "Oh yeah, no, I'm a visionary. I'm a visionary. I don't get bogged down. I can't be bogged down by the little stuff. I'm the visionary." You know, I, I 9 times out of 10, they're all over the place and they're just quote unquote playing CEO. Now, on the flip side of that coin, you have instead of saying, "Oh, I'm not high maintenance," they'll say, "Look, I can be high maintenance. I know I can, but I'm not going to bother you when I don't need to. It's just the way I am." And having that little self-deprecating aspect is great and goes so far. The other thing about like a great client, like they'll sit there and say, "Look, I know I've got ADHD. I've got it hard. So I'm going to forget things. I'm going to ask you to get things twice or 3 times for me. I'm hard to pin down because I have this ADHD or ADD. I truly need you to consistently bug me. It will not hurt my feelings. I will not hold it against you. And I truly need that kind of support." Now, that's great. Okay, we can do that. Now, the other time, going to the not so good clients who tell you, "Yeah, I want you to bug me to do this thing and whatnot, and I really need you to stay on top of me." And then when you do, they get annoyed. And then you're like, "What? What? You're annoyed? This is what you told me to do." And so, Melanie, at the beginning of a partnership with a client, I continually say to them, well, I'm hopefully not, well, I'm not having a ton of interaction once they start to get going. But before they partner with their assistant, I said, "Hey, look, the assistant is it to you. If I was If I was bringing on a new client right now, I'd say, look, you just told me you want me to be a pest. You just told me you want me to keep you on point. Look, I'm subordinate to you. And this is the beginning of a relationship. And a lot of times, I've had times in the past where I've done that for principals, and then they actually don't like it. It's really not what they wanted. They think that's what they wanted, but then when I did it and it was exactly in line with what was talked about in the expectations, they didn't want that. So I'm going to need in this beginning phase of our relationship, I'm going to need constant reinforcement that this is how you want me to act and perform. Because I can do it, but I don't want to do it to where it pisses you off and then you let me go. And that's kind of real life. That's how it works. So let me see. Um I'm just reading from where, yeah, everybody's telling me I'm frozen. I'm really disappointed this didn't work out. Um, Let me see. Jumping on. All right. Anybody want to jump on live? All right, wait, here. Melanie's writing more. Hey, here's yeah. 100% hear this. I've had principal. Yeah. Yeah, totally, Melanie. Christina O'Brien, it is so good to see you. Do you want to unmute and let what's going on in your world? How are you doing?
You put me on the spot,
I
Ethan.
did. We're a small group here.
I'm doing well. I'm just I'm trying to grow my fractional business and I saw you posted this and I thought I haven't seen you in a while. I'd love to jump on and hear what you have to say.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean, what how can I help?
um I don't want to talk in front of everyone. I think I'm just
That's
trying to
fine.
figure out how to find more clients, just leveraging my LinkedIn connections is kind of how I'm starting. And I'm kind of seeing where that's taking me. Some success, some not, which I kind of figured would happen. And yeah,
Yeah, wow, yeah. I
that's just where I'm at now.
well, no, I mean, um it's sales.
Right, exactly.
It's sales. So I wouldn't say I always try and say not that it didn't work out like a conversation, just put it more in like a not right now
Yeah,
box. Um and the not right now box is fine. And I encourage like through our training, I encourage people to get to know NO as quickly as possible. Like,
hmm
because then you're not wasting their time and they're not wasting yours. And getting to a quote unquote no, this isn't for me, or I don't know anyone, or I'm not willing to introduce you, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
And
you have to
you
have thick skin.
you got to skin, and you also have to realize that when someone is recommending you, they have to be very confident in you because if it doesn't work out, it looks poorly on them.
Right.
So when you're asking them and they say no, just always give them the out. Say, oh, no big deal. Don't worry about it. Like, but you've got so many connections from your NYC days that I would be again just having 100 conversations. Let me grab 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Tell
I've
you about what
actually
I'm doing.
revisited a lot of those people, some
Yeah.
that I haven't spoken to in a while, and just kind of opening that door, just to kind of see how that works for me.
Yeah. So Adriana asks you here, how
How did I get started?
yeah.
God, how did I get started? I don't, I I
Well, we
created
talked.
you are how I initially got started. We talked and then I created I opened I started an LLC and I just kept that going through everything, every job or every client I went through and I just started just talking to people like referrals or just word of mouth, LinkedIn. I don't really have a good answer for that. I just kind of it all started with the LLC and Ethan and then kind of just
Yeah,
went from there.
I don't, you know, having it, I firmly believe you should be getting an LLC, but to start, you don't really even need an LLC. You
No,
just,
you definitely don't. It was
you don't.
just something that I started. I think after a couple conversations between us, I think I decided to do that.
Well, what's funny is, I mean, God, we met so long ago
I
that
know.
that time was more important, I felt, to have an LLC
Yeah.
versus where we are now.
Right.
And independent contractors are treated a lot different now than they were when we first chatted. And, you know, again, in terms of getting started, it's making sure that you know your whole career story. It's is that story that you tell verbally the same story that shows up on LinkedIn when someone looks at your profile? And then knowing we preach all the time that you really need to know what you need, you know, like, well, do you need 50,000 a year or do you need 120,000 a year, or what you want? Do you want to grow a business to where you can have people under you and grow an agency like ProAssisting, or do you want to just get your clients and be off on your own and do that work? Do you want to do synchronous work versus asynchronous work or project based work, or, you know, and also there are a lot of ancillary roles that are great from the EA skills perspective. Like, let's say you live in a beach town that just pops off every summer. Well, there's a lot of Airbnbs there that need managing, you know. Again, that's something where, or you're in a town or a city and you happen to know someone who has an event space and you're like, oh, they don't really have an event coordinator. And if you can do that fractionally and yet take on another client, it's all piecing it together, and it evolves over time. So I guess, Clarissa, I would ask, you know, what do you feel like you're getting stuck at? And, you know, growing, again, you got to crawl to walk, and crawling here is just landing one client. Get your first client, make sure you're providing value, and that they keep you around. And that's, and if the great thing about being great executive assistant support is it's sticky. Once someone gets someone they like, they don't want to let you go. And a lot of times they want to increase what they have of you. So you need to know, how am I tracking that? And am I going to charge by the hour or am I going to charge by resources? Um, where's the value that I provide? You know, but and the accountability. So we're kind of switching what we were doing with the academy in from, you know, 6 sessions over the course of 2 months, and, you know, all of, you know, our recorded material and our templates and all of that, to more of a it's, well, we're shifting it from that kind of presentation and package to one that focuses on one-on-one support from me, um, accountability, and personalization. So the accountability piece is really important, but I want to be very actionable here, and I'm not here to sell the academy. um Clarissa, I would tell you that you need to make sure your LinkedIn profile is as great as you, and that where you feel proud to send your LinkedIn profile highlighting your previous experience, whatever that may be. Because let's say you were, let's a lot of teachers end up becoming virtual assistants. I just see it over and over and over again. And it's actually, I think, great, a great background. And it also kind of highlights dependability, highlights interpersonal skills, um, where you want to, business acumen and poise under pressure, those kind of things. You also need to think about that. But even someone like that, hanging their shingle as a virtual assistant and telling a story of, I moved jobs because my partner got a job in another city. So we left. And instead of jumping right into teaching, I know that I have a family of 4 kids and they're older now, but I ran the household. I can be an assistant, and I can handle administrative and assistant tasks and do this work. Okay, great. So you want to highlight your career background and everything on your LinkedIn profile. You want to pair that with a story that is true to you. And then you want to have a business model that aligns with those first two parts. So coming off, you're not coming off and saying, oh, it's 3,000 a month and I'll give you a third of me to be your administrative assistant. Probably not. It's going to be a harder sell. It's going to, unless you come across someone that just really connects with you personally. So it can happen, but more along the lines of, look, if I get 6 clients and I charge 1,000 a month to take care of them, well then okay, that's 6 grand a month. That's 72,000 a year, and that's what you're offering. That's where you're offering. But by the time you get 3 of those clients, the first one's going to say, actually, I need to double where we're at, and then that one client is going to be paying you 2,000 a month, and the other two is 1,000 each. So then that's 4,000 a month, and there you're at 48,000 a year, and it's providing value and it's doing the work. So yeah, there's pieces that need to be put together, and then once all those pieces are put together, then you can have those networking conversations that hopefully turn into those those prospect conversations. um but I mean, Clarissa, if you want to unmute and talk, I'm happy to have a conversation. um but yeah. All right. Well, if everybody's really, really quiet, I'm really sorry about the LinkedIn snafu and it not being able to work. So we are going to do this again, and I've really enjoyed it. I hope you found it valuable. So, uh, any other parting thoughts? Anything before I shut down here? You're welcome, Clarissa. Yeah, totally get it. Keep totally understand. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Um, don't hesitate to DM me. Talk to you later.